Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. In this upload, we're going to be reading 2 Kings 17. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore, the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away to Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan and in the cities of the Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger. For they served idols, whereof the Lord had said unto them, Ye shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes, according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks, like to the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in the Lord their God. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity, and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom the Lord had charged them, that they should not do like them. And they left all the commandments of the Lord their God, and made them molten images, even 2 calves, and made a grove, and worshipped all the host of heaven, and served Baal. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. Also Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of the spoilers, until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord, and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did, they departed not from them, until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So is Israel carried away out of their town, out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cuthah, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel. And they possessed Samaria, and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there, that they feared not the Lord. Therefore the Lord sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, The nations which thou hast removed, and placed in the cities of Samaria, know not the manner of the God of the land. Therefore he hath sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the God of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, Carry hither one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. Then one of the priests, whom they had carried away from Samaria, came and dwelt in Bethel, and taught them how they should fear the Lord. Howbeit, every nation made gods of their own, and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities wherein they dwelt. And the men of Babylon made Succoth-benoth, and the men of Cuth made Nergal, and the men of Hamath made Ashima. And the Avites made Nibhaz and Tartak, and the Sephirites burnt their children in fire to Adramelech and Anamelech, the gods of Sepharvaim. So they feared the Lord and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places. They feared the Lord and served their own gods after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from thence. Unto this day, they do after the former manners. They fear not the Lord, neither do they after their statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law and commandment which the Lord commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel, with whom the Lord had made a covenant, and charged them, saying, Ye shall not fear other gods, nor bow yourselves to them, nor serve them, nor sacrifice to them, but the Lord, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt with great power and a stretched out arm, him shall ye fear, and him shall ye worship, and to him shall ye do sacrifice. And the statutes, and the ordinances, and the law, and the commandment, which he wrote for you, ye shall observe to do for evermore, and ye shall not fear other gods. And the covenant that I have made with you ye shall not forget, neither shall ye fear other gods, but the Lord your God ye shall fear, and he shall deliver you out of the hand of all your enemies. Howbeit, they did not hearken, but they did after their former manner. So these nations feared the Lord, and served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as did their fathers, so do they unto this day. 2 Kings 16. This chapter details the reign of King Ahaz over Judah. King Ahaz was not godly. He participated in heathen rituals. King Ahaz pays King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria to defeat King Rezin of Syria. King Ahaz has his priest construct an altar similar to the one Tiglath-Pileser has. King Ahaz creates an ordinance to celebrate some of Israel's customs given to Moses in Exodus and Leviticus. King Ahaz changes some of the cosmetic aspects on the temple to appease King Tiglath-Pileser. Hezekiah, Ahaz's son, becomes king of Judah next. 2 Kings 17. This chapter focuses on Hoshea, the king of Israel, and how he was dominated into subservience by the Assyrian king. The Assyrian then captures all of Israel, forcing Israel into servitude, so devastating that Israel was carried away from the land God gave them. The Assyrians brought other peoples to Canaan to occupy the land God meant Israel to live in. Lions invade the area, slaying some of the people. The Assyrian king arranges an Israelite priest to teach the inhabitants about the God of Israel. He assumes this is a result of God's wrath. The inhabitants worship the God of Israel alongside their own gods. Israel no longer lives in Canaan. Summarizing 2 Kings 17. So, when Ahaz was ruling Judah for 12 years, Hosea begins to rule Israel. He rules for 9 years. Hosea commits evil, and Hosea finds himself in a situation with King Shalmaneser over Assyria. Hosea is in a situation where he's having to give this king presents. So, verse 4 outlines a significant event, but before that, I wanted to point out the what I believe is a grammatical error. For he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt. Sometimes this is treated as a uh, name, but the way that these other versions write this, well, not the New Living, but we look here, the Christian Standard, to So, king of Egypt, to So, king of Egypt, to So. That's how it's written for every other version, but the New Living. So I just wanted to point that out. I personally think this is a grammatical error. Uh, but his name very well could be So, king of Egypt. It's just most of the time they call Egyptian kings pharaohs. So, Hoshea is king. He finds himself in a position of subservience to another king. And something happens in verse 4 where Hoshea does not keep that arrangement of giving this Assyrian king gifts, and the Assyrian king puts him in prison. Then in verse 5, we learn that the king of Assyria besieged the land for 3 years, conquered the territory, and took the people away, carried Israel away into Assyria, into their land, and put them in their cities. So they're in captivity again. Then when we look from verse 7, it's like verse 7 to verse 23 because this is significant. This land that was promised to the Israelites through Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, they didn't keep up their agreement with God. And so the Israelites started up not keeping their agreement all the way back in Judges chapter 1. After Joshua dies, an angel comes to Israel and tells them, "Hey, you didn't keep God's command. God told you to destroy these people or they're going to ruin your existence." Israel did not destroy the people they chose to inhabit with them. And so, after generations and generations of reproducing and people dying, by the time we get to 2 Samuel 8, now Israel wants to look like the nations around them. So that's when it started. Now we're on 2 Kings 17, verse 7, and Israel is being captured and taken out of their land. What was significant about what I should have put a little bit more attention on? Um, Ahaz, king of Judah, Hoshea, king of Israel. At this point of the Bible, the nation descending from Jacob or Israel, the 12 tribes, they're fractured. There is no more 12 tribes of Israel. Judah is the only tribe that has honored God's, uh, well, they not completely, but they honored David. They honored God's anointing initially, and they're the better of the two. But Judah is only one tribe of people. The majority of Israel has kept their name Israel. So these people that we are reading about now in verse 7, uh, verse 6, okay, this is happening to the majority of the descendants of Jacob, the majority. So the people who were living in Israel, the descendants of slaves in Egypt, they're now in captivity, but it's so bad this time. They're being taken out of the land God gave them. So it's just a narration of why Israel became enslaved. And this just tells us Israel worshiped other gods. They built altars. They didn't listen to God. They rejected his laws. They became influenced by the same people God told them to destroy. So we learn in verse 18, therefore the Lord was very angry, and none was left but the tribe of Judah only. The Lord rejected all Israel and delivered them into the hand of the spoilers. So verses 20, verse 21 and 22, this is referencing 1 Kings 11:31, when Solomon first disobeyed God. Because once he disobeyed God, that fracture, when David first became king of Israel, the nation was fractured. Only Judah honored him. And it wasn't until 7 years later that he was able to regain control of the entire kingdom descending from Jacob. But once his son Solomon disobeyed, now this nation has been permanently fractured into Judah and Israel. So right now we're reading about what's happening in Israel. The nation of Judah is still existing for now. What we learn in 23 and 24, Israel, the nation of people who were led by Joshua, to inhabit this land. These people were carried out of their own land. The majority carried out of their own land. And the Assyrian people brought foreigners to occupy the land that Israel once lived in. And it says here, these people, these foreigners that were living on the Israelites' land, they didn't fear God, they didn't honor him. So there were lions that started to attack them. And the king of Assyria said, you know what? Even the king of Assyria had more honor for God than these Israelites did. Because the king of Assyria said, we need to get one of the priests from the Israelites to help regulate this problem. He even was able to connect it. However, uh, when we get to verse 29 and 30 and 33, 29 to 33, we learn that these new inhabitants that the Assyrians brought over to live in the promised land, they did adhere to the laws of the priests. They just also worshiped their own gods alongside it. And this just confirmed to me there was something that I read about the Asherim pole. This was some time ago. I think it was in the book of Numbers. The Asherim pole, and there was a source that I saw where there was a I forget what you call these people, the arc uh archaeologists, but uh she wrote an article talking about, Yahweh had a wife, but when you consider that, you now have this is what happens in the Bible. The Bible tells you why that might have happened because these people who are not even Israelites were imported in. The Israelites were removed. These other people were imported in, brought their gods, worshiped their gods alongside the God of Yahweh. So this might be now why you're finding these archaeological finds where it seems like Yahweh was worshiped in the same temple. Well, because he was. And the Bible even tells you that. Um, but all right. So the significant thing in this chapter is that the Israelites who God promised his territory to, they spent all of Joshua settling and inhabiting just to be carried away. And some new people who aren't Israelites. And what makes it so it says here in verse 41, they lived there unto this day. So the identity of the Israelites or the people who are living in Israel now, we have to consider would people that came to live in a promised land like that, are they going to keep records accurate? Are they going to correctly identify the Israelites? That's just something to consider because it's this is the first time in my life that it's been clear to me that Israel, they weren't just the same generation that were living in Egypt. This is multiple generations later. This is multiple changes in power and a fractured nation and this Assyrian king just taking Israel out of the land that God promised. Israel isn't even living there anymore. There's only one tribe, that's Judah. So that's the big thing in this. The big part of this chapter is that Israel now don't live there no more. They don't live in Canaan. It's a whole other group of people. The only nation that remains in verse 18, none left but the tribe of Judah only. But even they didn't follow God's command, and they're going to get dealt with in the next chapter. Well, sort of. Uh, sort of. But I've only read the next chapter. I have not read 18. This is 70. I haven't read 19. All right. Well, that is Second Kings 17. And I just want to say it again, the most significant part of this chapter is that Israel, the nation that is living on Canaan, they're a completely different people. The people inhabiting that land now, the promised land, they are not the Israelites. Those people have a different identity. All right. I love you. Thank you for clicking on the video. I love you. Have a wonderful day.